Yeah, how are we going to be doing this? I don't actually... Let me just double check. Yes, I do have Beginner's Guide actually installed already. That might be a good follow-up then. A good chaser. All right, I don't know anything about this. I have literally not even looked into the basic premise of it, so let's go. Audio is definitely on. Okay.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveyWreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift destruction imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Oh, I am out of ammo.
Security code reached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Beginning.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room. Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it. Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Oop.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead. The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Huh. Oh.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Well, that's all honestly kind of a neat idea. Is there a particular way that...
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope. It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
You are now entering...
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Okay.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do? Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
That's fine. Some games can speak for themselves.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games. Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there. Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Oh.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot. So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. All right, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Huh. He had a lot more planned, didn't he? A
How
lot
about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it? How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing.
Oh, hey, we're back here again.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is. Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors. This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that. This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't. It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly. Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond. and so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
(2009).
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually. Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played. But it's ironic, isn't it, that in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me, that I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
New room. We will all die. Yeah. It's interesting to think that all of this was written by one person. Because it does a very convincing job of being multiple people. And I kind of wonder what he thought of his own games. If he actually believed some of the things that he wrote here, or if they were just part of the act.
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution. He understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on. And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here, to step back and connect the pieces together, to grasp at that elusive bigger picture. Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
There's something interesting about that last note. How do you leave notes? Because obviously the person who wrote it knew how to leave notes.
See, this is it, the whole game, and there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool, here's version 2.
Interesting.
There's a bit more to this one, but still it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Okay.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this, to see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop, that particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created, and the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Hello.
Hi.
Hold up. I just remembered I'm not actually capturing this. Give me one moment. Oh god.
Hi, Lucius. Was this your game?
This is not Lucius's game. Oh, you mean like it is? Is this one that he asked for? Yes, it is.
Okay. I was not asking if Lucius developed it.
Ah. Oh, I may not be able to capture this. Well, crap. You're on you're on Twitch. You know what to do.
Sounds good. In that case, could you do subtitles?
I don't know if I can actually.
This game definitely has subtitles.
Gamepad, video, audio.
I would say,
Closed captioning. Here we are.
hooray! I appreciate it.
Yep. This is by the same people who made, or same person who made Stanley Parable, by the way.
It's a solid video game. Very different in tone. It's a very solid walking simulator.
It's a thing.
It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself. I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice?
I think some people read that to indicate a trans allegory.
So what would it look like if Coda
seems
wanted to make a
reasonable.
game about talking to someone other than himself?
Coda's been an interesting person to look into here. I wouldn't mind doing some more looking into
To
it.
me,
How's
this
it?
environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the 2 doors on either side and a dark transitional space between. You'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work, and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
As Lucius was saying earlier, this is one of those ones where we don't talk as much because the game speaks for itself well.
And it speaks for itself a lot. I think this game kind of does want you to, like, challenge Davy's interpretations of Coda's games, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Hashtag scrub the tub. I don't see the books that he's talking about.
Bedroom, he said.
Bedroom. Here.
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful. I know that Coda really liked this game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was, like, grossly happy all the time, just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
This is the same sort of thing that I get from weeding in the garden. I love my garden work because I can just put on an audiobook and just work and let time pass. How do these books keep wandering off from their shelves?
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace. But, of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive. Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it. This one gets a bit goofy.
It's a useful skill.
About halfway through the game, the perspective shifts.
Oh, Jesus! I'm sorry.
And you play as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
Oh. I appreciate them telling me that. What the hell is that?
It appears to be a Cthulhu black hole. Seems like it's not a problem, though.
Interesting. That I wonder what's with the different colors to the dialogue options.
I interpreted this as trying to say the gray ones and not, but I don't actually have anything to support that.
Yeah, obviously we can select them. But the yellow ones also direct your attention towards them. Is that what the teacher actually believes? Oh no! The yellow ones are like a continuation of what he was saying initially.
I felt pretty hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. to assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days. This one took a lot longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that wall. I didn't even notice it. I have to go. You're on stream. Hello.
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 This is the chat for the live stream, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not streaming.
Yeah, I can't actually do the capture on this one. So it's on Twitch.
Okay. Let me just open that then. How's it going?
It's a weird game. It's a game about game design. A walking
Okay.
simulator about game design, about a specific individual who is making games called Coda, and the maker of this game who is going through them and talking about how they're all different, and the mindset behind someone who wants to make games. Or more specifically, behind Coda. Also, Lucius says hi.
Hello. I don't see chat yet. Also, apparently I'm not able to turn down the audio. So I hear myself, which is weird.
I recommend muting the Twitch stream and just using the subtitles.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that, but I can't find the mute button on my phone.
Oh.
It's a big room. That's a prison. Coda had a real thing for prisons.
The game ends with this eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played
Can you
this.
still hear me?
You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the
Ah,
idea of
okay,
just
that was the
disconnecting
trick.
yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of
I
his
think
games
I've
are
seen the
inviting
game
me
before.
to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
Koda was suffering from the same thing that I am. Blind. Oh heck, is that the stage? No, it's a door. That is indeed a giant door.
Did you just
You
crash
should
your
probably
spaceship
open your
into
eyes
the
if you
giant
haven't
door?
already. It's pretty much impossible to solve
So it
otherwise.
seems.
And there is a solution, by the way.
Oh,
You done fucked up.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Koda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way. His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
is Dakota the main protagonist? No. It's this is sort of a almost documentary game about how what do you call it? About the various games created by Davy's friend Koda. None of these games, I don't know, maybe they are connected in some way. They all have similar feels to them, but that's probably because they're all made by the same person. And Koda wanted to connect things together.
If the last game featured Koda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet still, he keeps making games. He He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for?
Because he doesn't know what else to do.
Because from my perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on. You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash. Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like, video games are not worth this amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about. And I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop. But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
Oh.
The plot thickens.
The name. That's the first time he's named himself in a game.
And of course, it's the machine.
Thanks, Reagan. I have definitely turned those notifications off.
They're inescapable.
I mean, it's looking at the life or the collected work of a specific individual. If you look at anyone making games, if they are the only one with creative input into those games, something of them is going to show through. Well, it applies to more than just games. It applies to everything. If you read all of an author's works, you eventually start to notice themes about them. Not just the stories that they write, but also the way that they write them. Coda, well, it sounds like he's been making a lot of games for himself as a way to express himself in some way. But he didn't actually get that much out of it in the end. He was chasing something in the games, but he never found it. Either that, or he just was never finding as much of it. I don't know what it was, but it could be something as simple as needing an outlet. It's the same reason I stream. And eventually you start to realize that you're not getting anywhere, and you start to withdraw because you think that even if you do the same thing over and over again, you don't have any other option. You don't have another choice. You don't want to disappoint people. You just have to keep making things. The stage again.
First-person shooter.
The only thing we can't destroy is the stage.
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work? So I started showing
I think you're
Coda's
generally
work
supposed to
people.
shoot the people in the
I took this
theater rather
one,
than the theater.
and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
But it's not that simple, is it? Just because someone says they love your work doesn't mean that you believe them immediately.
It also wasn't a creator seeking out feedback. It was a friend making that decision for him.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something, I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy.
But it crushed him, didn't it?
So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
If you're creating as just an outlet, you don't care about other people's opinions.
And this is where I
And
have
it's just
trouble
your own
saying
opinion
anything
that
meaningful
matters.
about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
You wonder if people are doing this? You can't imagine putting the time into making a game and not releasing it in some way? I can. I can because I've done it. Not necessarily a game, but my own right.
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that
So
game had
remember
an
when I
idea that it
said
was
the
actually
game
trying
wants you to
communicate.
question Davy's
What's the
interpretation of
deeper
Coda's
idea
games?
behind the invisible maze?
That's Davy giving you an interpretation about one of Coda's games based on his own mods.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing that I was saying with any creative work. If you're doing it just as a creative outlet, then it's not about showing it to other people. It's just about doing it for the outlet. I have tons of stories that I don't show anyone just because I don't want to.
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
this one actually is, in a sort of roundabout way, solvable.
How so?
So 15, 16, 17 is a cycle of major arcana and tarot cards. I don't remember which cycle, but it was something he referenced in one of his previous games, something like Fool Star World or something like that.
Interesting.
I think that was the one with the full MMO. So we can assume that that particular tarot cycle has some meaning, Dakota.
Also, the game's name, Tower.
Hmm.
The Tower is one of the tarot cards, so that would already be another reference to them. I wonder if he was a fan of tarot in general.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem.
You're viewing your friend as a problem.
But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
Doesn't mean anything if he just tells you.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed. Where did I screw up? I'm the reason that you stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable. And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself. And then you stopped, and I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean? I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself. That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. And I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay. More.
I am
More
highly
love,
confident that
more
this is not
praise,
real.
More people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease.
I think it is very good. I think that it assembles its narrative very well, and I really love the twist at the end. But I don't think it's real.
That it's not a problem with Coda, it's a problem with the narrator. David. Yeah. It's like Molly was telling me a long time ago. Just because you're pulling yourself back and withdrawing does not necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with you.
Coda withdrew first and then created his games in solitude. He never mentioned anything about not being okay. That was just his creative process, and it didn't involve other people.
Yep.
He was content creating it for himself and exploring different ideas. He showed them to one friend. That was what he consented to.
There
Everything else
was
is interpretation.
there was a story that I wrote a long time ago called Love and Pain. Some people here are familiar with it because I have shown it to them. And the response that I always got from that particular story was, "Are you okay?" And at the time when I wrote it, yeah, the story wasn't based on anything that was going on in my real life. It wasn't based on even on my own experiences. It was just something that I wrote as a fantasy, I guess. It was about someone who had mistakenly understood, or who had mistakenly assumed that someone else loved him. And when that person withdrew from them, they felt like they were drowning. It went over their entire, well, how they viewed the world and how everything seemed to be crumbling around them. Now, a lot of people took that as something that I was going through, but it wasn't. It was just how I imagined that someone in that situation would be. And apparently I got that message across a little bit too well. The answer was always, yes, I'm fine. I haven't ever been in this situation. Sometimes you can read a bit too far into an author's work. Sometimes you can read a little bit too little into an author's work. We still have control over what we put into anything that we create.
And we're not equal to our creations.
Yeah.
But I think what is happening here is a very extreme version of like fangirling, whereas the friend feels like they've absorbed so much of the creation of Coda that they know them inside out and they know what's best for them, and that is toxic in a way. Like whatever you wish for yourself, I know better what is good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give that to you against your will.
There's an artist, a Polish artist. Keep forgetting his name. He's also known as the Nightmare Artist. But he despised people trying to read into his artwork. He was always of the opinion that his art was just art. There was nothing else in it. There was no emotions or anything that he was trying to convey with them. It was just things that he wanted to do or wanted to paint. And he was always of the opinion that art was art. Sometimes there's just nothing else.
It goes a bit into the l'art pour l'art movement that Victor Hugo and some of his friends were part of, where you should strip art of the meaning that society put upon it, like religious or political or whatever, or even like expectations of beauty, and just create for the creative process.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's what I was saying before. If you're making something as a pure creative outlet, there is very rarely any meaning to it.
For anyone other than yourself. It's a bit like journaling. You're doing this for yourself to get ideas out or to straighten out your mind. And in a journal, you usually don't put footnotes or explain context. It's just for yourself.
Right. Anyway, onto the train we go.
Solution. Solution. Solution.
Can you turn around?
I guess if
I don't
someone
remember
had
if
told
you
me ahead of time that he
turned
just
around for a second
really
to
enjoyed
see
making
if you
prison
got out of
games,
the train or out of the building.
maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate.
Where's the train?
I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons. Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you. If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like. What now? I think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for. And so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Oh, one more thing that I might as well get out here right now. Stop assuming that people have depression. Just stop. Not everything is an allegory for depression. I feel like
for the sake of people who might be mistakenly treated as depressed, or is that just because you're tired of depression stories?
I'm tired of depression stories. I'm tired of everyone saying, ah, yes, it's the depression. It's just, it reminds me of a short that I saw a while back about a character that had severe problems talking to other people. In the story, they were trying to get to a specific temple and they kept running across some sort of black ooze. As they fought the black ooze every time, they would start to form a thicker stone armor around them every time. It got to the point where the armor was so thick that they couldn't move, and eventually they began to realize that making thicker armor wasn't going to be something that would help you. So they broke it apart, and that's what allowed them to get to the temple at last. The ooze wasn't some form of depression. It was just the mean words of people that they kept trying to ignore. But everyone, of course, assumed that it was depression, because black ooze is one of the most common, I guess, analogies that we make for it.
I would have guessed that the stone armor was a symbol for depression, because repression is a reaction. You're reacting to something.
Yeah.
In a certain way. And that can get stronger and stronger until you feel like you're immobile.
Yeah.
Have you considered that the temple itself is the allegory for depression?
So instead of everything being cake, everything is depression.
Don't you understand? Everything is depression. It's always been depression all along. Oh. Oh, this is... Find your pathing. I'm sorry, Molly, you were talking through all of that, but the music was very loud. And now it is very loud again. God damn it.
Turn back from this cave.
I'm just saying that it looked like the pattern of a
You
hotel
said,
hall.
let me
Very
prove
different
that
to
I'm
the
brave. Let me keep going. But the cave goes for miles and miles and miles. And you're so tired. But I know that you're strong. So turn back. Turn back.
I like this game a lot.
I
I
do
like
too.
Davey doing himself as like a portrait of someone who gets their validation from sharing other people's content and becomes obsessed with it. Because I do think that emotion is relatable, at least to me, and I imagine to others.
Yeah. It's I mean, this also holds a little bit of a more of a different meaning for me just as a content creator myself. Because obviously I do this. I look at games and I share them with people and I add my own thoughts on top of the games so that it's impossible to look at a game without my thoughts on top of it. And that's going to change people's opinions, and I have no idea what the original creators would have intended for it.
But the original creators, in your case, intended for the games to be published and shared.
Yeah, it would be a lot
So
different if
you're-
it was something where I took someone else's work, and I used to do that actually. I used to do that back when I was doing readings of stuff before I would ask people for permission. Now I ask people for permission, and if they don't want it, then I don't read it. It's as simple as that. Just don't share stuff without people's permissions, unless it's like public.
And also understand to separate the creation from the creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one took me a long time to figure out, but it makes life a lot simpler. Specifically when playing games from creators that I hate. You had your clear reasons to recommend this game to me, and you're pretty sure you can see/understand most of them. Do you have some sympathy for either Coda or Davey in this? I don't know. I've been on both sides of this. I do appreciate that they make you think that Coda is the problem in this situation and that Davey is trying to help him. I think the biggest reveal in all of this was actually the please stop adding lampposts to my game.
That hits really hard.
Yeah. Because
don't make my games accessible for more people when they're not meant for many people.
right. Well, the part about the lamppost is because you weren't here for this earlier, Molly, but Davey was saying that lamppost started showing up in Coda's games as something that he would hold on to, and of course, that's revealed to be a lie because that was
Yeah,
Davey adding them.
Meaning and direction into them, which Coda never intended to. And I've seen a full playthrough of the game before.
Oh, have you? Okay.
And they set it up a little bit with the reference to the cleaning stage, where it's definitely like intended by Coda to be
Infinite.
claustrophobic and oppressive. And then Davey casually mentions that he had to add the finish. Then he's been doing it all along.
What was the purpose of the lamppost? It was so that Davy could have something that was shared across all of Coda's games.
He wanted it to be a big continuous work instead of just little snippets and fragments of Coda's mind.
Yeah.
He wanted them to be more than they are.
Kinda. I don't know if that was the intention, but yeah, kinda. Well, that was a short game. How many chapters does this have? One for each game. I am actually curious if this is something that was entirely fabricated, or if this is based on a real event. Or maybe a little of both. I might... You're also interesting. It's also interesting that the whole zone of Davy stopped talking to me in the tower was behind the door you can only pass if you alter the game. Something Coda knew Davy was going to do. Oh, yeah.
It is kind of like putting I knew you would betray me in your diary for someone, and then waiting for someone to sneak into your room and open your diary against your wishes just to be called out onto it.
You know, a long time ago, I actually did do a lot of journaling just to, I don't know. I don't really have a particular purpose. My mom ended up getting me a journal as one of my Christmas presents. And surprising me, I actually did write in it pretty consistently. I stopped doing that after a while, but...
I think if the game is in any way biographical, then it is behind many heavy layers of alteration.
Yeah.
Like, I'm certain that all of these games themselves are a product of Davy, and the entire plot is a product of Davy.
Yeah.
I believe he said in an interview that part of it for him was helping himself get over the feedback of others by presenting himself as such a massive scumbag and then leaving his actual email address in the game.
Oh, Lysias, one thing that I should mention about that last comment. I said that Coda was going through the same thing as me, but I did not necessarily say what that thing was. What I would call it is, and I've talked a little bit on Discord about this, it's a intent to withdraw from society. Basically, I don't want to talk to people, and I am, at least for me, this is probably not something that Coda was suffering from. For me, it's more of a fear that I would lose the ability to talk to people at all. But I do not regret withdrawing in the first place. I never said anything about it being depression. I still, to this day, don't really think that I have depression. I honestly think that if I was ever to identify it as depression, it would probably be too fascinating for me to be, in quotes, depressed. I think it's healthy to withdraw.
It's one coping mechanism.
I just like being able to do my own thing.
But I do get what Lucius is saying. The game is very cleverly designed to present
Yeah.
a certain opinion and make you feel some sympathy with the narrator, as in he's doing good, like he's caring for a friend, you know, there's good intention there, and then realizing slowly that's toxic. That's fucking toxic. Stop it. Get some help.
Well, the problem is how do you initially recognize that if you've never experienced it before?
Well, there is such a thing as sharing experiences and getting second opinions when your own opinion on your when your own opinion just lacks basic information.
Yeah, but if he didn't have the opportunity to do that, he couldn't recognize it when he first did it.
He could have respected his friend's wishes.
Yeah, that I agree. He shouldn't have shared the games in the first place. That was a massive no. You ask, like, if you're going to do that, at least ask before then. And if they say no, just don't do it.
I do think Davy is pretty unambiguously portrayed as a villain as of the last game of the epilogue. I don't think there's any real nuance there.
Yeah. Oh, heck. What did you end up using your logs on, Hades? I know you had way more than that before. What's next? I think we had Town of Light next. Or I could end the stream early and just do some stuff around the home. You know what? I feel like I want to do a little bit more, so we can probably just go ahead and start something else. Good to see that we're finally getting back through games again. What with Elden Ring not taking up all the space.
Why do you think that Coda gave Davy access to his games, Sadis?
Because he was curious, I'm guessing.
Maybe he wanted to help Davy realize something. Or maybe that was the one person he wanted to have feedback from.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that Coda was ever looking for feedback. I think it was just Davies expressed some curiosity or interest in them. So Coda felt that there wouldn't be any harm in sharing them. Because it does sound like Coda was just making them for the sake of himself, for the most part. Let's see here. So, do I actually have the Town of Light? I do not. So, Town of Light is, from what I understand, some sort of horror game? For some reason, okay, so I type in the Town of, and the Town of Light immediately comes out. I type in LI, and it immediately disappears. What the hell?
Huh.
Does it make a difference if you spell it with capital L?
Apparently it's looking for completed words is the thing. So once I finished the Town of Light and finished the word light, it went back to showing it. So going against the game's narrative here and going to interpret the game, you think Coda and Davy are the same person? I think that's a bit of a stretch. Although, one thing that actually did fascinate me, I think it was the third level, the one with the initial door puzzle, where he took away the walls of the room and you realize that there's a huge amount of other sections of the level. That particularly goes on to something that I've noticed a lot when doing world building, which is until something is in a story, it doesn't exist to a player. Like, you can world build all you want, but if it never actually gets told in some way in the storyline, then yeah, it doesn't exist ever. So there's a limited, should always be a limit to how much work that you put into world building. You can over world build to some degree. I think Tolkien was fairly common for him to do this with stuff like the Silmarillion, because until he wrote the Silmarillion, a lot of what he'd done didn't exist. There were references to some of it, but none of it connected together very well until the Silmarillion came out. Wow, that was a fast install. Also, someone's probably going to be very upset that I'm just talking shit about Tolkien. I promise you I'm not. I'm just... The man had a world building problem, okay? Gonna give me 2 pre-hand warnings regarding town. Let's see if I can actually capture this. It looks like I can alt-tab, so that might work. Alright, folks in the storyteller circle. Can you see that?
What? Wait.
I see it.
Sweet.
Oh, from the same guys who made Mothers then?
It's slow, it's a history lesson first, game second. And this does show at certain points. Secondly, the game deals with some seriously mature subjects. Love the salamander's fire. I love it too. Just the purple fire. Well, actually, I guess, what would you describe that as? The closer it gets to the center, the more pink it is. But it eventually darkens down into a magenta and then a purple. All right. Do you think that purple is the hottest fire? Nah. I think that the general hottest fire is almost white in color. But it also depends very much on what the fire's burning. Let me update the stream as well. I just realized I need to do that. And update here. Yep. Yeah. I was actually kind of curious if I could make a real-life purple fire because, I mean, I've got my own property now. I can start any fire I want as long as it doesn't get out of control.
And as long as you tell the fire department beforehand, depending on your region.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I should have read that. I'm sorry, I definitely did not read that. Damn it. Damn it, now I've got to start over.
What's happened?
I like fire, okay?
What is this place? Maybe I'm dead. I can't see any light. Maybe I am dead. I can't get up. What's going on? What's happening to me? There's no one here, but these noises. God, my head is killing me. I can't keep my eyes open.
Oh man, Dupless, guess what's up after this?
Ooh.
I think that was one of yours, if I remember right.
It was. Now I'm anxious.
Well, that might be either tomorrow or early or later. Actually, yeah, I'd probably.
Wait, tomorrow is not the weekend stream, right?
Yeah, tomorrow's not a weekend stream, so never mind. It'll be next weekend.
you did put Paradise Killer on the list.
Yeah, did you not notice?
Oh, maybe I should throw some logs at that.
Yes, because otherwise it's going to decay after one day. And
The thing is that I have about 7 other games that I'm feeding currently.
I mean, you can just throw like one log on it every now and then to reset the timer.
You mean just like consistently bonk it with a log?
Yeah.
So it doesn't go away.
Bonk it. Hit it with some wood.
Where will I get that wood from, though?
Good question.
Also, the graphics of that game are really nice.
Are they?
I think they are.
I feel like it's more just their general use of the of fairly good foliage. I say fairly good foliage, and then I take a closer look at it. Foliage never holds up under scrutiny. I should know that by now.
Don't shove your face in it, then.
Yeah. Why would I ever do that?
But billboards are so great.
It's probably poison ivy on top of that, so stay away from it. Then it looks prettier, and you're safe.
First food rationing improvements. On April 20th, bread rations increased by 50 grams per day. An extra kilogram per month of soup products. Agricultural labor treatment reform and extraordinary marmalade distribution. Isn't marmalade some sort of... Like, it's a dessert, isn't it?
It's jam.
More like a jam.
Marmalade is jam.
Okay. I don't think I've ever had marmalade now that I think about it.
Because it's just jam. Marmalade is a French word.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
German is marmelade.
Marmalade?
Marmelade.
Never take a close look at foliage in a game. Your eyes will hurt. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong, unfortunately. Imagine hanging out around a black fire on a rainy day. Black fires are... So, a black fire is the coldest color of fire that can be created man-made. However, black is not a color that is easy to view, which means that the fire is more transparent than anything else. I've seen it. I've seen basically just before a fire goes out, you can kind of see it. But it's really hard to keep it going because it's supposed to be cold, and if you're going to keep a fire going, you want it to be hotter. Okay, how do you say this? Julia K. Distressed but held up by their faith. Her mother Irene E., father Eric, and sister Martha deliver the grievous news. The funeral will take place in La Romola on Sunday, April 16th at 3:30 p.m., starting with the house of the deceased, April 13th, 1944. By the way, I probably won't get through this in one sitting. I will finish it up next weekend and then start Fortune 499 if it's still on top.
I was using Fortune 499 as my I'm testing the bot vote.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. You never expected it to get to the top, did you?
I mean, I expected it would eventually.
As long as you continued throwing logs at it every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Stancasiano.
You can reignite a fire with its own smoke. Have you seen that? I have, because smoke is just unburned products of a fire. And a really hot fire will actually produce very little smoke because it is burning a lot of it. The reason I know this is because I had to get fairly good at lighting fires recently. Fierce murder in the San Casciano, April 14th, 1944. Giulia K., a young woman with a respectable family, was brutally murdered near her home. Police are investigating a possible political motivation. Incredible anti-aircraft victory. 159 aircraft shot down in 24 hours of the German Continental Air Defense. Major Russian operation northwest of Jassy. Enemy convoy scattered in the Mediterranean. 2 destroyers and 6 merchant vessels sunk.
Yeah, so this is Italy during the Second World War.
Okay. Or at least those came from that.
Yeah, since they're happy about Germans shooting down aircrafts, that's the time where they were aligned with Germany, so that's that.
Hmm.
It must be some time past the war since the newspapers are old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there? There must be another way around this gate. Unless I'm missing something really obvious. Walking simulators sometimes have this problem where I'm just missing something. Like that? No, there's nothing in there. Shovel. Can we dig our way under the gate?
Are you sure you have to get through the gate?
It's the most obvious way forward.
Have you checked behind the playground?
I have not. I want to look at the back. Okay, good to know there's nothing on the back of things. It stops you from before you can actually look at the back. Oh man, this is definitely a Source game, isn't it? This feels like a Source game. When was this made? Oh, maybe we do go behind the playground. Hmm. Also, I'm sad, Molly, because my plants haven't popped up yet, but they've been getting plenty of water. I know it takes a few days, but still.
So your impatience makes you sad.
Yes, my impatience does make me sad because I want to see them start growing, and then I just want to keep watching them. Just like I've been watching the asparagus, which just does not stop. I don't know if asparagus has a maximum size, but the ones that I have not stopped growing.
My asparagus that I forgot to cut down surpassed me in height now.
Oh yeah, mine is getting there. I'm kind of curious because one of them is held up by a brace. I'm kind of curious if I can keep it going long enough that it gets above the house in height. At which point I actually do have to worry about cutting it down.
No, it won't happen.
Okay.
You also don't have to worry about it.
Do I? Can I get
Nothing's
under?
gonna happen.
This makes me sad. This game is from 2016, you say? I keep thinking of 2016 as not that long ago, and then I realize it's 8 years ago. No, 6. Shit. It's 6 years ago. Yeah. And that's a long time. And what has happened to the way that I view time these days? Because it's different now because of COVID.
I was in law school in 2016. It feels like a long time to me.
Oh God, I was probably still in college in 20. No, I wasn't in college. I had my first job by then. Because I never actually finished college, and there were complications that happened when I was in college that made it so that I never finished college. I kind of always regretted never finishing college, but going back now wouldn't really accomplish anything.
You round up with a very in-demand skill set.
A largely self-taught in-demand skill set, too. Which kind of also makes me feel like I maybe didn't need to go to college in the first place.
Can you get behind that?
The
orange one?
The where?
Turn
Oh.
around. Yeah. If you go alongside that to the left, can you get on the other side?
I
Or
don't
is that completely shut down?
know. Let's find out. There is a
There's
walkway. Yeah. That fence seems to keep going.
So the story is you got bonked on the head and you just woke up there?
I think. There was some context that I, of course, skipped past by accident. So.
Can you remove the wooden boards?
I was trying. Doesn't look like it though, unless there's a button I'm missing.
Can you crouch?
I can interact with the slide. Well, we've got to go do that now. I do not appear to be able to crouch. I'm going to interact with the slide.
That interaction will give you tetanus.
Oh yeah. We now have tetanus.
This is what's going to kill us at the end of the game, not any of the monsters.
We have 3 days to live now. Oh, we can interact with the seesaw too.
Do you have a jump button?
We do not. Oh, we can sit on the bench.
There's not much bench left to sit on.
Actually, where are we sitting?
Oh.
Okay. Have you seen this, Lysias? Or played this? A lot of these games are games recommended by Lucius ages ago, so we're burning through them pretty quickly here.
Oh. Oh, okay. I thought that was a sneaky way.
Oh yeah, I thought for a second that you could just get over it, but no, there's an invisible wall.
Damn, those invisible walls.
Man, I want to see a walking simulator where the gimmick is that the main character has a power that allows them to view invisible walls.
There's like force fields.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing.
Lucius said, I remember you just have to go through the gate beside this shack.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking, because it's the most obvious way forward. And like basic game design means that you need to think about where the player character is looking when they spawn. And we were looking at the gate initially.
And then we turn around in true gamer's logic because secrets.
I'm kind of curious how many secrets this game has.
The secret is there are no secrets.
Okay, initially what I was thinking is that this shack had some sort of lever that I needed to pull, but there's not really that much in here. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh, we can actually look behind. Oh no, hold up. Can I? Okay, some things you can look behind.
What about the photos? The photographs?
Nope. Looks like those stop you before you get too far behind. Game does have diverging storylines. Damn it. You know, you're making me want to play Maid of Sker again. Maid of Sker is a good horror game.
Oh, I think I remembered that one.
Oh. Who'd you end up watching that one from? Yeah, from. Was that Jack again?
I think Gab Smolders played it.
Oh my god.
Newt,
I'm disappointed in myself.
Okay, good. It's enough of one versus this one.
Just and the game's just like, finally!
We've been holding back the intro for forever!
Oh, yeah, that was definitely one of the better ones. I am a non-perceptive idiot. Just ignore me.
this place. Time. Memory.
Well, we got a good look at that starting area at least. So if that ever becomes important, then we'll know.
Well, we made found memories.
Sure.
Fond.
We were able to get it, just, take a trip on the slide. This is not a flashlight. This is blatantly not a flashlight. I just want to say that right now.
It's a light, but not the flashy one.
Yeah. I feel like I am not able to see very much better when it's on versus when it's off.
Which is arguably very realistic.
Really? What flashlights have you been messing with?
The thing is that once you turn on the flashlight, your eyes focus on
The only thing I remember
area
clearly
you're
is
lighting.
Charlotte, my doll.
Okay, that's got a lock on it.
No, she's freezing. She's alone. Let's look for her.
Okay, we gotta go find a doll, I guess. Plot senses are preventing us from progressing any other way. You know what else was a surprisingly good game? Dread Out.
I don't believe I've been exposed to that one.
That is is it Vietnamese or it's some area in that region. It is a horror game of that style, with actually some really good scares, honestly. And it keeps it going long enough that it somehow finds new ways to keep scaring you. Also, there's a point where there's a conversation with a possessed individual, and that is probably the highlight of the game for me. Calm Woman Ward. Okay then. That's probably it. Yes. I do love these projectors that I can stand in front of.
Yeah. Plot twist, you're a ghost. Which makes you not getting through the gate even stupider.
Oh, yeah. It's basically Fatal Frame's cousin. That's a good way of describing it. You can damage the ghosts by taking pictures of them. So, yeah, very similar to Fatal Frame. The ghosts also appear different if you're viewing them through the camera versus viewing them in real life. And it also allows you to solve various puzzles. Patient discharge. Readmission document. Name and surname, Francesca Agostini. Paternity, Arduino. Maternity, Martelli Gina. Born in Velletri, Providence? I guess that's Providence? Roma. On October 13th, 1895. Place of residence, Velletri in Roma. Marital status, widow. Admitted May 30th, 1916. Diagnosis, early dementia. Referred from Rome Asylum. Transferred to asylum observation rooms. Dismissal. I've never checked if we have an asylum in this town. We probably don't.
Let's search the wards on the upper
How
floor.
common are asylums
There's a plan on the
nowadays
wall
versus
which
just
shows their
hospitals?
location.
What was that?
How common are asylums nowadays versus just hospitals?
I don't know. We do have a hospital, and I've been trying to get a primary care thing set up for that for a while now. It's harder than you think. A page! Shit, now we're on a time limit.
Just don't look directly at it and you'll be fine.
I guess that's age. I don't really. Oh.
Ooh. Interesting. That's pretty.
Okay, so Town of Light. Have I been missing a few of these? My memory of these years is hazy.
My
between...
memory of those years
Oh, okay.
is hazy. Between the age of about 7 and 10, my memories are disconnected, and I couldn't say how many times and how frequently the light used to come. My mother gave me a doll around that time. Charlotte. Thinking back to it makes me want to laugh. But at the beginning, I remembered that I was afraid of her. I thought she wanted to harm me, to kill me and take my place. But when the light came, she would stay beside me, and her presence.
You personally prefer Dreadout over Fatal Frame? I haven't really played enough of Fatal Frame. I wouldn't have any issues with playing Fatal Frame, but I just haven't tried. Apparently, some of the emulation causes some issues on the final boss because you can't look directly at it, which is a very Fatal Frame issue. And by that I mean the game crashes if you look directly at it. Which is kind of a fascinating way to end the game. This game is...
That would work for a final boss gimmick if it was intended.
Yeah, right? It just resets you back to the beginning of the fight every time. This game is 100% based on real diaries, medical documentations, and historical research, meaning it's fair to say that 99% of what is shown in the game is actually real. Interesting. Oh, that's ominous.
Did not disturb me. I was able to talk to her, and so she became my best friend. At least until I was in grade 2, when everything changed. She didn't laugh at me, and if I had to say something to my mother, I asked her to say it. When things inside me turned bad, she was the only one I could turn to. Now all of this makes me blush, but Charlotte was a real friend to me. I knew that she was just a doll. I wasn't stupid, but at the same time, she was real too. I don't know how to explain it. It's difficult. My mother would cuddle her and tell her things. I guess she was trying to communicate with me. But back then, I was too afraid to understand it.
There's more, but I'm going to try and read these in chronological order. So we'll try and find the next one. I'll probably end up missing a few pages because I am awful at collectibles, which is part of the reason I don't like them.
Tsuki, you're here.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I always looked at Italian as like French, Spanish. What?
So, you know how all European languages are based on Latin?
Yeah, yeah.
Italian is just the closest to it because it developed in the same country. The further you get
Nobody
away from
says
Italy,
we can't.
the more,
Let's find Charlotte.
the more the languages have.
I suppose
differences from original Latin.
that makes sense. Where the heck is this Charlotte individual? Probably not in the
Wasn't there the room to the right with the iron cage in it? Wasn't that like an elevator and there was stairs around it, I think?
I think the page was here. Marital number. Please kindly notify any relatives of death of inviting them to cover burial expenses. Failing which corpse will be sent to Pisa for study purposes. Cost 100. Director S. Wait, okay, hold up. So we can't go into either of the wings yet until we find Charlotte. She said to check upstairs. There were stairs, you said?
Yeah, there was the room where there was like a metal cage that you could walk around.
Oh, this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Go to the left.
I didn't even see the
Just
stairs.
left. Yeah, you walked around it on the right, and there was like a maintenance room behind it.
Ah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we'll go. Oh no, the music started. Is that Charlotte?
Mummy took good care of Charlotte. She tucked her in, hugged her, gave her cuddles and kisses. She was very affectionate and loving. Nothing bad happened to Charlotte, and that surprised me. I didn't understand. At first, I was quite scared. I was afraid that she wanted to hurt me. I lived in constant fear that Mom would abandon her. Because I didn't deserve to live. I didn't deserve to be loved. It's cold and it's dark. Look, she's cold. She'll get ill. We can take care of her. Nobody can stop us. Charlotte is a good girl.
Oh. There we go.
So she and her mother lived in the asylum for a while?
Maybe? I will let you know, however, that I do not have a flashlight anymore.
Well, you were very actively holding the puppet.
That is true.
I'm going to dip and begin preparing for the work week.
Alright, you have dips.
Thank you for the stream.
Charlotte
Yep.
is cold. Let's take her somewhere warm.
Oh wait, take her somewhere warm. Is this warm?
Those lamps could make the room warmer. But Charlotte's not happy. She doesn't feel well.
Well, okay. What are we doing?
Maybe you need something like a bed?
I might turn it up the light level a little bit. Human mouths! Disgusting things.
Yummy.
I should also mention that it's probably a lot brighter on stream than it is for me. I don't know why, but one of my monitors is displays a little bit darker. I've tried to figure out, or like I've tried to match the light level of both monitors, and it seems like I have matched them, but it always shows up a little bit darker when I'm playing games. I'm not sure
He
why.
doesn't want to. Not Charlotte.
Seems weird. Sure. Okay, can we close the door? Thank you. Down we go, Charlotte. There's a wheelchair?
I thought something like that.
Apparently there's a wheelchair. Hold up.
He'll get angry. I know he'll get angry.
Who is he?
There's a lot to be afraid of, apparently.
Hold up. Hey, Charlotte, you want some sunlight?
She's gonna burn.
I cannot see
I saw a
anything in this room.
wheelchair on the ground floor. It's comfortable there, and we can put Charlotte somewhere warm.
But where is this wheelchair? Do you remember a wheelchair, Molly?
Here, to the right. Stop, go back.
Yep.
Charlotte will be comfy here. But it's cold. No, it's cold. Don't shiver, Charlotte. The cold will go away. It'll go away.
Come with us, Charlotte. I offer you my heart. Shove it in. All right, close the door. That's an albino doll. Putting her in the sun will get her injured. Oh, yeah, you're right. Do albinos actually have... Like, I know they burn easily, but how quickly do albinos burn as opposed to your average person?
They lack the color pigment in the skin, right?
Yeah.
So they do not develop a tan.
Yep. Well, it also means that they don't have melanin, which is usually the common... Like, it's what makes your skin darker.
Yeah, the color pigment.
Yeah. And it's also the main thing that protects against burns. I really wish that I had my flashlight. So I'm gonna go... Oh, that's fancy. What is that? Oh, that's ominous. I don't want that. Okay, we take it over here. Gotcha. Why can't we have the flashlight and the wheelchair?
Because game mechanics.
Screw game mechanics. Game mechanics never did anything for me recently.
The cold has gone away now. You see? The light. The warmth. We can do it. The cold will go away. It has to. Now we can enter the ward where everything started. It all began in the observation ward on the ground floor.
The horror music stings have started. So that's not interesting.
You're doing something right.
What was that?
You're doing something right then.
Oh man, ghosts! I like ghosts. Haunted house adventures are fun.
Oh, that's a long corridor.
By the way, I cannot look at those doors. Spooky! Oh, okay. I guess we're actually in Silent Hill then.
Ooh. Interesting.
I like this choice of music. The This choice of ambience is good. This is what you want to do when you feel like want to give someone a little bit of a sense of claustrophobia, because it's pressing in on my goddamn ears.
Oh god. Okay. I've had not enough or too much wine for this.
You have not enough or too much what? Oh. Well, it sounds like you've got something to fix.
I have a bed to crawl into because tomorrow is not a bank holiday for me, but it's the start of a week. And it's going close to 12 o'clock.
One day I turned off the light, but it didn't go dark. It was a limitless immensity, a blinding, merciless light. I was 16 years old, and I was afraid, always afraid, a fear that wore me down. I needed help, but I couldn't speak. I was terrified of everything, even thinking. They said they were taking me to a place where the fear would go away, where I would get better. I stopped living in there. They dragged me away and stripped off all my clothes, everything. I tried to explain what was going on in my head. They tied me to the bed for days. I was alone with my nightmares. It wasn't fear anymore. It was madness. And when you're mad, you cease to exist.
Sounds like she needed a lot of Glad handbags. No, Glad Ziploc bags. Trash bags? Is that what they... I don't remember how Glad... You know what? The joke's ruined. Probably shouldn't be joking at a time like this.
She was my only hope in this hell. I was descending down among the damned. But that woman and her smile kept me alive. The door is locked from the outside. Here, the doors can only be locked and unlocked from the outside.
That game slowed me down.
Did you hear someone coming over, unlocking the door, and running away again, right?
Yeah, I heard that.
Good.
Seems fine. I see nothing wrong with this.
Nothing.
Hello, individual doll. Oh, look, everything's brighter. We like brightness here. Brightness keeps the monsters away.
Kind of get the feeling that the light that this town is talking about, the town of light, that is not specifically a light of hope.
No, the doll. Is it a porcelain doll? Ghosts are good company to keep. Indeed. Indeed they are in some cases. They never run out of things to say. I imagine they've been around long enough that they have an endless variety of topics.
He laughed, panted, and slobbered all over me.
Ugh.
It hurt me when he touched me. I thought I'd suddenly split open with a loud crack, and I would be shattered into pieces. I felt fragile, sick, dirty, degraded. All I could do was clutch Charlotte tightly while Renee obeyed. He was the master in the realm of light. I was being consumed by the evil act I had committed. I threw up and could feel hell getting closer and closer. Those tests the doctors did to me. They said there was something growing inside, and they wanted to drag it out of me.
Well, that's,
I'm gonna go now. Yeah, those aren't images I want to take to bed with me. I'm gonna go now. Have fun.
that's fair.
Have a good stream.
Yep.
Bye.
Aren't horror games fun? Oh. Yeah. I kind of figured that would probably be on the list. Hmm. More lockers with locks. I mean, at least you have a help button, right? Never mind. I was gonna say you have a help button, and then the help button did not function. So, Dear Director, I've been working at this institution for 5 years now. I'm a simple person, I'm not educated, and I feel embarrassed about writing to you. I always try to look at the bright side, but sometimes we are called upon to do difficult things. That's our duty, and I well understand and accept it. There's no alternatives. However, I have decided to write to you because something is happening which is simply unacceptable. I am well aware that there's someone among us who devotes too much attention to the younger female patients who are confused. The serious nature of this fact has compelled me to write to you. I am certain of your indignation and the measures you will adopt to solve the problem. Please accept my warmest regards and respect. Yeah, that's kind of awful. And by kind of awful, I mean very. Oh god, what's the synopsis button? Here we are.
He felt accused, hurt. I chased him away. I insulted him. He was proud, handsome. He said things about me to other people, which he shouldn't have said. Mother caught me coming home drunk. She beat me and sent me to speak to Don Gino every day. He came back and tried to speak to me. I think he liked me. Sometimes I sent him packing and I started shouting at him. But other times I embraced him. I held him tight and loved him. But he couldn't bind himself to me. I was 16 and ill. I had no future. I didn't get out of bed for weeks. Then I did things I was ashamed of. I slept with men. The guilt tore at my soul, and the light came back to torture me. I invented stories to justify my actions. I couldn't bear my own weight. Mom found out about it. Her voice split my head. I pushed her away because I was afraid of dying, and I shouted to the whole world what was happening to me, and that I didn't understand. The police arrived, and they carted me away. I remember the onlookers shaking their heads. They would be better off without me, cleansed of shame, with something to talk about for a while.
Memories. Oh, God. Hospitalization, abuse.
She stayed with Renee during those terrible medical examinations, and that gave her the strength to survive.
Okay, I don't know why the game stopped me for that, but it certainly did. Are we back at the front? Yeah, I think we are. We can just leave. Did they ever mention why she was here? You beat the true corrupt monk? Nice. That's a fun fight. I like that fight a lot. Ugh. Hello, Dolly. With the centipede, yeah. Okay. Kind of at a loss for what to do here. I'm just opening doors and seeing if I can find something in them.
They went to the gynecology ward on the upper floor.
Ah. That time it was actually working. Gynecology. Upper floor 4. Oh god, it's really hard to actually see the numbers. I guess we can zoom in. Ah. This way.
August 21st, 1938. Confidential. Dear A, I know what you think about these things, so I'm referring a patient to you, Renee T. This wretched girl got out of control and caused trouble in the grounds. She's almost 3 months pregnant. The nurses should be more alert. I'm examining the girl on the 28th. I'll handle things very carefully, don't worry. We don't want to make matters worse.
I feel like
then they said that Renee was crazy, and that the illness was all in her head. Careful, little girl, careful. I was scared, and I didn't talk to anyone about the illness.
Hi,
Only her.
Reagan.
Not even the
How are
other
you doing?
doctor.
You're on
He
stream.
never touched Renee. He just wrote
Hi,
things
people.
down. You can tell me everything. Don't be afraid, he said.
One moment.
Everything's going to be fine. Do you want to know what I'm writing? I note down what I observe in you, everything I see. He didn't hate Renee. He tried to help her, but he rarely examined her in those small surgeries.
Well, this is a whole thing.
Yeah, this looks like a creepy game.
Yeah. Have you ever
didn't
seen
realize-
Town of Light?
The doctor who wrote things
I
down was in
I tend to not like
surgery
creepy
C.
games.
Is it because of the scare factor, or is it because you're just not a fan of the style of them?
Yes.
Ah,
I don't enjoy like being scared. Like I don't like scary movies either. It's just not something I enjoy.
Reagan has, or not Reagan, Lucius has recommended this to me. So hopefully this one will be good. This is out of season for my usual scary games.
So, yeah. Like I don't play them. I don't mind watching them once in a while. But
Surgeries.
yeah, I'm not a scary game fan. Like the only scary movies I like are horror comedies.
Horror comedies. Oh, like the John dies at the end.
Yeah. John dies at the end, Cabin in the Woods. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, that kind of deal. Assuming you've seen Cabin in the Woods.
I have. Oh man, spooks! I hope you're ready for spooks, Reagan.
Spooks.
I don't know
So
how.
what are the spooks? What are the spooks in this game? What does that say? Go back.
Estrata fluid.
Estrada fluid.
Grinder fluid.
No idea. Sure, let's go with that. It's probably some sort of like knockout fluid.
We are in a place. Oh, jeez. Brains.
We're in a doctor's office. Can't find brains there.
Yep. We're in an
Old
asylum.
syringes. Old glass syringes.
March 12th, 1938.
Which are actually a lot of fun to mess
Renee
around with
T,
if you ever seen them.
16 years old. Menstruation at age 12. Housewife. Father unknown. Mother a seamstress. Admitted in observation yesterday morning from Pontedera, accompanied by a police officer authorized by the examining magistrate of the Court of Pisa to be admitted for a psychiatric evaluation, which I have carried out. Medical certificate. Mental illness preceded by warning signs. Has suffered from depression for a year, believing she had tuberculosis. Food deprivation. We can't read this document. It is forbidden. We mustn't. If they find out, there will be trouble.
Oh.
Who is telling you that you can't read something?
I don't know. Nothing will happen to you. That's true. Talks about Renee. We gotta find it.
Have you ever wondered who you are?
I don't know what that symbol means.
Yes, of course you've wondered.
What?
I never had children. I don't think. Let's read it. I must understand. I must remember. She is frightened, hears noises and ghosts, presents serious signs of anxiety, psychosis, suffers from hallucinations. She is anxious, confused, her expression is distressed, a questioning look as if terrified, disoriented. She feels confused, hears voices shouting in her head. She doesn't understand things properly. She has been feeling unwell for 2 or 3 months. When questioned, she replies, "My mother wants to hurt me. I am always scared of her. She chases me." "Why are you here?" "I argued with my mother and was so upset that I felt like my head was spinning. There was a woman there who wanted to force me into a life of prostitution. They wanted to condemn me to be burned at the stake. Children whispered, called my name." March 16th. She couldn't sleep last night. They wanted to condemn her to be burned at the stake. April 4th. Transferred to the calm ward, still under my supervision. Yes, that's true. The ward where Amara was. Yes, the stake. The children wanted to burn Renee. She had to pay for what she'd done, like witches at the stake.
Wait, what?
What had you done to deserve to be punished?
April 21st. She's more awake this morning and is responding to questions, complains of headaches. She became agitated when she found out her mother was there. She says that one day, many years earlier, she was with a friend of hers and met a man who made her get into a car and took her for a ride. He made her smoke cigarettes and drink liquor, and the man showed her certain things. He tried to hurt her and made her go crazy. She says he promised to marry her and made her swear to keep what had happened a secret. These facts were essentially confirmed by her mother. After that, she became arrogant, impatient, and hostile towards her family, especially her mother. She started taking off her clothes in public. Her moods would swing from laughter to tears. She rants. She pleasures herself. I can't remember these things, only the guilt, the stake. I know I deserved to pay for that guilt. I knew it even then. She was uncooperative during the examination. She didn't want to be stripped, and her body remained rigid. Voluntary attention almost totally absent. Probable hallucinations. April 25th. Confused ideas, unable to maintain a spontaneous conversation. Reflexes all normal. Reactive pupils. Let's find Amara, and we'll find the full medical records.
Creepy. Yeah, I think I might be done here. I don't care for anything that's happening.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not nothing against the game. It's just not my cup of tea.
Oh, I thought it was the mature topics, which
No,
admittedly are. That would also.
I mean,
be
I'm
pretty
not happy
understandable.
about it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not something I couldn't deal with. I'm getting some really bad vibes here.
Okay. All right. You have a good day. I might actually be. You know what? It's 3:00. I might actually be done for today too.
Well,
We
I was
already
gonna say,
finished.
did you want to play NWO later?
Sure. I hear that there are updates.
Yeah, they completely revamped a bunch of stuff.
Anyway.
So, if and when you're done, just come. I'll be in community channel.
Yep. All right.
Bye, stream people.
Bye, stream people. Yeah, I think I'm also done for now. We will continue this next weekend. I also have a couple of other things that I need to do around the house. I might just do those instead of streaming or playing on MWO, because right now is one of the rare times when I can do that. All right. Anyway. Thank you, everyone who has been watching so far. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. 10 Ace Games, Zebgrin, Slime Hunter, Walks with Gorillas, my dad, Kremlin Kev, Dissalona, Miss Mango Plays, NBFF, Alpha Mango, Kwoke, Veritanium, Molly Copper, and Paper Duplis. I need to update this list. I think that Zebgrin is no longer a supporter. Everyone else is still on here, though. Anywho, yeah, let's go ahead and end here.